Hi, I'm Pamela Addy, and we're going to continue week 7 with chapter 14, Communication to Improve Morale and Provide Motivation. Believe it or not, this is one of the easiest things we can do, and yet many managers just don't know how. So let's dig into this a little further. Why does it work? Well, employees want to feel that they're an important part of the organization. And engaged employees empower the team members to contribute in meaningful ways. So how do we engage our staff? By involving them in open discussion and in making decisions. And when it's working well, it's a two-way street, because we as managers need feedback, need to understand what's happening in the department. So communication, when working properly, works two ways, both from leadership to the team and from the team back to leadership. So whether you're in a flat organization, which we see a lot in healthcare, or a hierarchical organization, the important thing is this. In addition to information flowing horizontally, we want it to flow up and down the leadership pole. And you'll notice that we continue to see some of the same common themes throughout all of these topics in every chapter we're talking about. Listen to the employees. Engage them in decision-making and process improvement. Provide and receive feedback. And be consistent. Because you can't be open and transparent one month and then be secretive and quiet the next. When employees are confused as to how your style is, they'll just shut down completely. For a manager, communication is probably the single most important skill that we need to develop. And remember, job satisfaction equals how the team member feels about their job, where employee morale is how the team member feels about their organization, their department, their facility. So why is there a disconnect between the two? Well, sometimes employees have expectations from an organization that differ from what the employer is able to deliver. To mitigate this, we must have a communication strategy. So for instance, maybe an employee feels that the organization should reimburse them for CEUs, because certainly that benefits not only the employee, it benefits the organization, it benefits our patients. But for whatever reason, the employer chose to do something different. Maybe they decided to keep the employee portion of the healthcare cost low, so it benefits all employees, not just ones who have an opportunity for professional CEUs. But this needs to be communicated to employees, or else they just feel that, oh, here's another thing they're not giving us. But if we can have a communication team that can really put together talking points, then everybody in the organization can receive the same information. And then the employee who was complaining about the CEU reimbursement understands that they're getting their money back in a different way, and everybody's able to participate. Slide 6 contains some of the key points we discussed in week 1 about communication. Use a variety of methods. Be clear, concise, and consistent. And be honest when you're communicating, and ensure the employee can understand it. So to address motivation, we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of what motivates people. Motivation can be intrinsic, meaning that it comes from within the employee, or it can be extrinsic, which then depends more on reward and punishment. It should be noted that managers cannot actually motivate people. Our job is to provide a healthy and a productive environment which supports and improves motivation. And we need to start by recognizing what's important to the employees. We cannot judge other people's motivation by our own. We're going to look at some of the various theories of motivation. So first we have Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. So how can this relate to our employees? Well, let's look at safety and security. If our employees have to walk through an area that they feel is unsafe, or let's say they're working 11 to 7 at nighttime, and they're more worried about the security in the hospital or lack of security in the hospital, they become distracted from their work, and they may believe that the organization doesn't really care about them. So they are not going to progress and be motivated to do more if they're that concerned about their own safety or security and feeling negative about the organization. Another example related to the social, number 3 aspect, if they feel excluded in the social activities of the department, they're not going to be motivated to go above and beyond in their job. So next we have Herzberg's two-factor theory. So one thing I've always loved to do is ask employees or prospective employees when I'm interviewing what they love most about their job. I think it provides great insight into what motivates them. So Herzberg divided this into 2 separate factors. The hygiene factors are the givens: work relationships, company policies, the physical workspace, their salary. Motivating factors, though, are achievements, recognition, sound familiar, and advancement opportunities. Vroom's expectancy theory is what people desire or expect in terms of outcomes of behavior and performance. In other words, if I behave a certain way and produce this outcome, this is what I expect to see in terms of my leadership. It is actually considered the most popular work theory because it depends on the employee's inputs, their performance, and the outcome. They work harder when they believe they have a good chance of getting personally meaningful rewards. This takes us back to rewards and recognition program. Slide 14 takes us into Vroom's theory a little bit further. Since it is the #1 theory for job motivation, you may want to look into this, find a resource and follow this up a little bit, look into this a little deeper. But you can see that it clearly indicates the need for a rewards and recognition program. And remember, recognition does not have to cost us anything. Be creative. There are lots of ways to give recognition. Compliments in the moment, certifications at a staff meeting, written recognition in a newsletter. But always connect the behavior to the organization's mission and values. Slide 15 mentions some additional motivation theories that you can research. I find that you can mix and match these theories by taking something from each one of them. Slide 16 discusses them a little bit further. And I think you can see the overlap with several of them. For instance, goal setting and positive reinforcement aligns perfectly with rooms theory. So back to communication and building a plan. It should be based on feedback from the employees, and it should be consistent throughout the organization. Personally, I've always managed in a very open and transparent way, but I found that oftentimes that meant that my department, the team members in my department, knew things that other team members from other departments had not actually been told. So I had to really learn how to deliver the information so that this did not become a problem. But I am a very strong believer in being open and as transparent as possible. I think it leads to great trust between among your employees, among your management team, and it really creates a more cohesive, a more engaged, and a more productive department. So we use employee surveys to obtain feedback and help us understand the perspective of our employees so that we can develop an effective communication plan. Again, we can't give employees everything they want, but we can explain our rationale. And in the end, that's what employees want more than anything. They want to be heard. They want to know that their ideas were being considered. They want response. If they've taken the time and put themselves out there to bring attention to a concern, it really is our responsibility to make sure we respond to them. There are lots of employee survey tools out there, and they're typically administered by the organization. Usually you have a separate department in the organization that does this. But this does not preclude you from doing any kind of internal spot survey in your own department throughout the year. And these turn out to be very, very valuable. Slide 20 discusses a little more about the surveys, and I think you can read this for further understanding. Bullet point 2 here is extremely important. How do we help our employees feel comfortable to be honest on the survey? And we do that through the culture that we have established in our department on a daily basis. Two-way communication, addressing issues, being responsive, and establishing trust with our employees. So here's a sobering statistic. Only 1 in 4 employees in healthcare are engaged and look forward to coming to work. This is why we work so hard on providing in our commitment to provide our team with an environment which supports and encourages motivation. It is critical to identify the areas of improvement and develop a plan. Be creative. Money is a factor if it is far below market, but it is seldom the factor for poor engagement. Once developed, make sure you follow through to implementation. This is not a one and done. This needs to be continued throughout the year. As I deliver these slides and this information, it crosses my mind how much work an imaging administrator, imaging managers have to do throughout the year. But the idea is to do that work up front, establish the programs, and then they kind of take care of themselves. If you get used to doing this on a daily basis, it becomes routine. It becomes part of your standard work. So after implementing a plan to address the employees' needs, you need to communicate the progress at periodic staff meetings. They need to see that things are happening. They either forget quickly, or you may be doing things behind the scenes to get prepared or get ready or get funding to implement something, and they just don't see anything going on, so they just think they're being ignored again. So make sure you communicate the progress. If you do not address their concerns, they will just stop providing feedback. So how many times have we heard employees say, well, I never say anything anymore because I used to bring it up and nothing ever changed. So that is what we want to guard against. That cannot happen. We need to listen to our employees, follow through with what we can, and get back to them with what we're doing or why we can't. Thank you.